Looking through your cardstock and don't have the right color you need, I'm going to show a really fun, fast, easy way to create your own just by using your inks, some white cardstock, and a gel plate. This also really gives a fun added texture to it as well. This is Teresa Litchfield. Thanks so much for joining me in creating your own colored cardstock. And I'm also going to show you how to make tassels to enhance your projects. This is also part of an ALTENEW Educator blog hop. I hope you'll join in and have some fun with it. We were encouraged to use something with floral and geometric elements, and here's some of the projects I came up with. ALTENEW is really known for their layering dies, and I really wanted to use this new set that they just came out with. I also thought it was a great time of the year just to make some fun tags and have them on hand. I'm going to focus mostly on how I made the tags, but the card is made just the same way. This is the watercolor garden layering die set, and I really love how they group the images on one plate for one color. It makes it really easy to cut out. I always keep the packaging that it comes with in my storage, and it makes it really easy for the layering and for some inspiration. The Shine Like a Diamond set I'm going to use on the background of my cards and tags. I used the Terrific Tag die set, and this has 3 sizes with 2 different designs in it. I'm going to use the 2 straight ones. I'm going to use the large and the medium size, and I cut it out from 110-pound cardstock. I placed them both in my MISTI at the same time, and I'll stamp that with the Shine Like a Diamond stamp. And I used the Sand Dunes color of ink to stamp that with. I'm going to stamp this a couple of times. That stamp just in the center likes to not stamp really good, so I like to stamp it twice. This is a really large stamp, so I use my microfiber towel just to wipe over the top to really get a good impression. I backed those 2 stamp tags onto some white cardstock and then cut them out. I'm going to use the Crocodile, which I had to laugh at myself. I hadn't used it for a while, and I had to kind of learn how to use it again. So I'm going to use some silver eyelets with that. I think they make this in a blue now. You can tell how old mine is because it's pink. And I'm struggling here just figuring out how to use this thing again. Once I figured it out, it worked great. I'm going to use the gel press plate now, and I have a 5x7, and I'm going to put that on top of my water media mat. It just is nice because then I can move it and turn it around. My first color is going to be Misty Morning, and a really light kind of a gray blue. And I'm going to use that solid plate for the first layer of flour and a little bit of water in my distress sprayer. So I just wipe the ink over the top, spray it 3 or 4 times, and press the paper down. And I use 110-pound paper. I really love how this looks. It gives that watercolory marble look to it, and it gives that added texture that I was talking about. I'm just going to do it one time on that first layer. On my second layer of the die, I'm going to use the Cloudy Sky ink, and I'm going to wipe that across and do the same thing again with it. Spritz it 2 or 3 times and lay that down, and you can see I actually lift it up and do a couple more of the edges of the ink, and it just gives some more texture and a little interest to the color of the cardstock. So I'll show this again on the 3rd layer, and I'm going to use Nimbus on this layer. You really don't have to use water if you don't want to. You'll get more of a solid color cardstock. The water just gives that texture and kind of that watercolor look that I really like. And I do this one a couple times just to give a little deeper color to it. And like I said, it makes it more solid. Only one of the flowers uses this 4th die, and I'm going to use the dark knot on that. I'm going to impress it the same way as I did the others. This die is going to be for the centers of a couple of the flowers, and I'm going to use butternut. So after I have all my cardstock made and let it dry, I'm going to cut everything out. And I used a solid green for the leaves. And again, I love that plate that it comes just every image on the one plate. And so here's my layering, the light to dark with the yellow on top. This is the biggest flower of the set. And you can see here, I've put them all together. So I used a lot of foam tape in between them. And there's that one that has the dark night on it. I didn't use any foam tape on the small flowers, but I did use a lot on the others. And I think I used all the flowers on my card, and here's a view of that. And I used all the leaves also. I cut the background panel down to 4 by 5 1/4 and added some foam and then popped it onto a white card base. I designed the flowers on top of the tags and then used some press and seal to keep them in order. I love doing that. It really is a handy trick. I used Versamark and the antique silver embossing powder for my sentiments, and they came from the Sentiment Strips 1 and 2 stamp sets. The sentiment on the card also comes from the sentiments too. I glued all my flowers and leaves on top of the tags, and I did put some foam underneath the some of the bigger flowers. And I'll show how to make that tassel. I put some jute on top of the tags as a string. To make the tassels, I used a piece of chipboard that is 4 by 4, and I'm going to wrap that embroidery floss around it. Another really helpful tool that I found is I like to use my craft pick. It really helps me to kind of just hold things down. I'm going to show how to make that loop on the top of the tassel first. And to do that, you need some Scotch tape or any tape really. And I take 2 pieces of embroidery floss that are 12 inches long. So I'm going to keep everything kind of at 12 inches for this. I take my 2 strands and fold it in half, so now it's 6 inches, and then I find the 3-inch mark in between that, and that's kind of how I measure things. And I'm going to tie a knot on one end. You're going to now lay that down on your surface and tape it to the surface, and that's what the tape is for. And now I'm going to crisscross those over the top of each other to make kind of a twisted rope. And you don't want to twist them together. You want to twist them independently like that. If you twist them together, they're going to bunch up and not lay flat. So it's really better if you twist them one piece over the top of each other. So all the way down to about the 3-inch mark at the end of that. And then you'll end up tying a knot at the end of that piece. This will make more sense as I go along, but this will end up being that loop at the top of the tassel that you can loop through the tag string. You can now remove that and discard the tape and set that aside. And now we're going to make the tassel. So I just take a whole bunch of the embroidery floss and I'm going to wrap it around. I wrapped it around 12 times. But you can do however many times you want just to make it as full as you like. And we'll end up doubling that over. So the 4 inches ends up being like a 2-inch tassel. Now you're going to take that 2-stranded twist that we made and double it in half. And then you're going to tie a knot in it. So I wrap it around my finger and tie a knot that way. We just need a knot in the top of it. So it's doubled still in half. So after you've got that done, open it up with the little loop at the top. You can see what I've done here. And put that on your surface with that loop just sticking up. And bend your chipboard to take off the tassels. So now you lay the floss that we just wound for the tassels halfway over the twisted piece. And now you take that twisted piece and you'll tie a knot around it to secure it. I ended up tying a double knot just to really make sure it was going to stay put. And you'll let those strings just kind of hang down. And now you'll fold the tassel and just let those, like I said, let them hang down. We'll cut them off. But that little loop that we made, the twisted loop, is going to be now at the top. And then we'll finish off the tassel. So I'm going to use a piece of embroidery floss, and I found a silver string, and I finished the ends off with just some tape. It's easier than using a needle, but you kind of want to have those ends so you can loop them through. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to make a slip knot, and I'm going to loop it over, put your fingers through, and then grab it, and this is how you make a slip knot. Now, you don't have to make a slip knot. You can just tie a regular knot if you want, but the slip knot is great because you can pull on it and you can tighten things up. So starting with the loop of that knot, you're going to lay that over, and we're going to wrap that around, but you want to keep that. So take the other end and loop it through the slip knot and keep that knot exposed because we're going to come back through it. But you're going to wrap that string around however many times you want, and then when you're done, and that's where the ends with the tape really come in handy, you're going to take that end and you're going to loop that through that knot again. And I just loop through a couple times to make a good knot and pull it tight. But like I said, that slip knot allows it to like pull tight. There are a lot of tutorials on how to make a tassel on the web and on Pinterest, and I just took a whole bunch of them and made my own tutorial from it. So hopefully I'm giving you helpful information. So now pull that knot really tight, and then you can cut the ends of it off, and it'll kind of be hidden on the back of the tassel. You won't really see it. So now I'm going to take my sewing scissors. I like to use Kai sewing scissors, and I have to keep them away from all my boys. But you're going to cut through the loops on the bottom of that tassel and just kind of fluff it up and cut the long strings on the bottom and even it up. I just thought this was a fun thing to learn how to make. You can add it to all kinds of cards, bookmarks, tags, all kinds of things. So I just thought it was a fun thing to learn. So I just cut across the bottom of that and really even it up. And again, fluff it up, and I'm going to put that on the big tag. So I take my piece of jute and I fold it in half. Again, it's 12 inches long. And I'm going to take that folded end and I'll loop that twisted loop from the tassel onto it. And here's where that craft pick really comes in handy. I'm going to take that loop and put it through the front of the tag, the eyelet there. And I'm going to push that through. So when you have a really thick piece of jute or ribbon or something, it's really helpful, that craft pick. So loop it through to the back side and then take your two ends and put it through the loop. And I kind of put that loop of that tassel up into the loop of the string from the tag. So it's kind of hidden up there. I don't know if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. Here's my finished tags, and the tassels are a little bit different on each one. Here's the card that matches them, so it makes a really pretty set. And you could put those tassels on cards too, for any occasion, any time of year. Here's a close-up of the card, and you can see all the dimension that it has. And I just love the cardstock that was made with that gel plate. I just think it makes a lot of difference to it, and it gives it so much texture. And it really does make it look like watercolor. I hope you'll try this technique of making your own cardstock, and I hope you try the tassels. They really are pretty easy to make. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate all the time you spent with me, and I have a couple more videos that you might enjoy watching. I have one with monoprinting that I'll put on the end here. I hope you have a super great day and enjoy doing something you love.